Welcome to this week's video. My name is Faye Cox and I am a mindset and confidence coach, and I help ambitious individuals get to where they really want to go. So this week's video is all about the 6 tips for achieving success. Now, when we all start out, whether that be the success that we want to create in our business, our career, or just in our lives in general, what we start to think about, or what we need to really try and think about, is setting those goals in order for us to get to where we want to go. Now, this can prove quite difficult and tricky for some of us. Some of us aren't used to setting goals. It wasn't until I actually set up my own business that I really became goal orientated, and I got used to and accepted the fact that we need to set goals in order to succeed. And when we start to do that, it can feel a little daunting. So I have some 6 tips that will help you to achieve success through setting those goals. So tip number 1 is to have a clear vision of the result that you want to create. So this is something where we reverse engineer everything. So we go forward into how we want our life to look so that we can fill in the gap between where we are now to where we want to be with the steps that we need to take in order to get to where we're going. Now, your vision needs to be clearly defined. We really need to get to grips with what it is that you actually want to create. We also need to create time frames around this as when you want to get to where you're going. So there will be certain things that will have a longer time frame to get there. And there will be those smaller steps that we're going to take in order to get to our longer term goal, which will have shorter time frames. Now, if we don't give ourselves timeframes, we will tend to procrastinate and we will tend to leave everything till the last minute. But when we give ourselves some timeframes and some tight schedules and timelines to work with, our brain starts to kick in and it starts to think, right, okay, I need to get on with this. So it's quite a good motivator. Tip number 2 is to understand your why. Why do you want to do what it is you're setting about doing? Why is it you want to set up your own business? Why is it that you want to gain the promotion that you're after? Why is it that you want to make those changes in your personal life? Why do you want to enter a new relationship? We all need to look at why it is that we want the things that we want. Because if we don't look at our why, again, we feel disempowered and demotivated. And if we don't know why we're going, where we're going, how on earth are we going to be able to figure out how we're going to get there? And we can always go back to our why. It's always a really good thing to go back to. When we start to become a little bit unmotivated, that self-doubt starts to kick in, we start to let our mind drift. If we can bring it back to why we want to do what we want to do, why we want to create what we want to create, it gives us that kick start again. So to do this, to understand our why, you can do a very simple exercise, which is to list out all the reasons why you want to fulfill this particular vision. And how will achieving this contribute towards improving your life? So what difference is it going to make once you achieve it? How can you use that newfound freedom to also help others if that's the case? So really getting to the core of understanding why you want to go in a certain direction will help you to really secure that vision. Tip 3, and we've touched on it slightly, is to write it down and date it. Commit. Make that commitment to yourself to do the things you set out to do and to make those changes that you feel are necessary and the changes that you really want to make. There's just something about writing a goal down that brings it more into your reality and into your awareness. Now, you can use journaling for this. I'm a big fan of journaling, so that just letting those thoughts, those feelings and everything come out down onto a piece of paper, everything that you're thinking about, because then you start to see some patterns in those thought processes and what it is that you want, which can really help you then to start create it and bring it all together. And also, as we know, I'm a big fan of making lists. And making a list just helps you hold yourself accountable. Getting it out of here onto a piece of paper or into a book, helps you keep yourself accountable, saying it out loud, committing to yourself, but also it gets it out of here, which gives you even more space then to think about what it is you're really wanting to create. And like I mentioned, adding dates to it gives you a bit more motivation and a bit more of a push to make sure that it happens. Tip 4 is to make plans. Now, I'm a big planner. I love to make plans, but I know planning can be a little bit more difficult for those who are a little bit more fly by the seat of your pants, as I like to call it, who don't like too much structure. But when we're looking at creating success in our life or business, we need to create that structure and we need to make some plans. So create some milestones that you can look at. And so you can look at some different scenarios about where you want to go. Looking at these different options helps you map out different ways to get to where it is that you want to go. And it can also help you to break down some of that more complicated stuff so you can make it into smaller, more manageable bite-sized pieces. If we keep things too big and we're too trunked and we're trying to look at something that we feel that we cannot achieve, we won't achieve it, because we will then start to procrastinate, we'll lose motivation, and then we'll actually start to self-sabotage ourselves and go back in the opposite direction, because our mind starts to kick in. That thinking goes, this is too difficult, I'm not going to bother. So break things down into smaller size pieces. And this doesn't just go for this goes for everything if you're struggling to achieve something. Number 5 is take inspired action. This is one of my favorite parts, and this is something that so many of us don't do. And I really struggled with this to start off with, is because I'm such a planner and because I'm such a thinker, I would think of all this stuff that I wanted to do, and I'd come up with this amazing thing. And I think this is great. I feel really great about it. I'd be in a really good positive state where I wanted to create something. And then my brain would kick in, the self-sabotage would kick in and go, right, hang on a minute. What if this doesn't work? What if this doesn't work? What if something goes wrong? What if, that what if, negativity, what if, which then creates even more negativity, what ifs. So we need to take inspired action. When we feel good about something, this is a really, really important step. When we feel really good about something, and we feel passionate about it, this is the time to create it, not sit on it and wait for it to then leave that state that we are in. Which brings us on to tip 6, and our final tip, which is to adjust and be flexible. So don't be afraid to fail here. So a reason why we don't take some of that inspired action is because we go into that what if thinking. So we start that trail of negativity, because a lot of that comes from that fear of failure. So we fear that we're going to fail at whatever it is we're doing. So we feel really good about it on one side, and then we give it a little bit of a while. We think about it too much. We overthink it. And then we take ourselves out of that state. The fear of failure comes in and we take no action at all. So imperfect action is better than no action at all. And you know what? If you get it wrong, that's good. We can't create success without getting things wrong along the way. And every time we get something wrong, it's good. We take that as a positive, because then we know how to course correct ourselves, what we need to change, how we're going to get to that place of success. Nobody goes from not knowing what they're doing, from starting to being successful, without making a ton of mistakes and failing along the way. So embrace that failure and don't be afraid of it anymore. Reframe your thinking around that word failure. reframe it into a positive rather than a negative. So even the most talented people in the world fail, and they fail a lot. The more you fail, the more you're going to find success. So as you begin thinking about your dreams or goals, tune in and ask yourself how you feel. So go back to writing some of those things down. It may be that when you're thinking and you're tuning into yourself, maybe a month later or a couple of months later, it's always good to go back and refine and just check that actually that your why, your vision, and everything that you've said you want to create is what you really create. Because let's be honest, things change for us on quite a regular basis. So we might need to be reminded what that why is, which will then kickstart that thinking and that reminder of why we're going where we're going. But it may be a case that we just need to tune back in with ourselves on a regular basis. And this is something we should really be doing with ourselves every day once we get into a habit of it. But to start off with, every so often, tune back in with yourself, tune back in with that goal, tune back in with that why. And think, because it may be that you need to revise it, and that's why it's not going the way that you wanted it to go. So always look, be aware, revise and refine. And all of this will help you on your road to success. Thank you for joining me in my video today. Like I said, my name is Faye Cox. I'm a mindset and confidence coach, and I will see you in next week's video. Take care for now. Bye-bye.